All right, good morning, everyone. People will be coming on, but I wanted to be cognizant of everyone's time this morning. My name is Amy Fleischer. I'm the Executive Director of the Nonprofit Resource Hub. Thank you for coming on to our webinar this morning. Um, Again, Nonprofit Resource Hub is dedicated to the nonprofit sector and to help them thrive. Um, if you are not a member already, please join the hub. We just placed the link on in the chat. Please introduce yourself on the chat if you would. As well as we are just launching a needs assessment survey to our nonprofit community so we can better serve you and program what you need to know and help you with our programming and our events. So please take a moment. I'm filling out that link as well, which is in the chat as well. We will answer questions at the end if they're not answered in between. So please put your questions in the chat, and at the end of the webinar, we will go back and answer what has not already been answered. Again, thank you for coming. This is a really important webinar, and we're happy to have New York State help us with engaging New York State and funding fundamentals. So talking about grants and other things. You'll learn how to forge meaningful partnerships with New York State agencies, navigate the state agency application process step by step. We all know that could be a little bit daunting. Strengthen your organization's overall funding strategy, access key resources, insiders tips. So whether you're launching a new nonprofit, whether you're an established nonprofit and you want to deepen your impact, I think that this session is going to be very meaningful. I know I'm very interested in what everyone has to say. And without further ado, we're going to get started.
Hi,
Welcome, Laurel.
hi guys. Thank you so much. Good morning and thank you for having us. We're happy to be here and we're excited to share the information that we have for you. My name is Lil Padilla and I serve as the Deputy Director of Nonprofit Affairs here at the Executive Chamber. And I'm glad to be here to share some helpful resources with you alongside my colleagues from the Department of State, IT Services, the Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance, and hopefully Rosa can get on and it'll be the Office for New Americans. But before I begin my presentation, I wanted to share greetings with you from Governor Kathy Hochul. She's been a strong advocate for New York's nonprofit sector and recognizes how essential your work is in supporting your communities and improving the lives across the state. Under her leadership, New York continues to invest in and to partner with well, 16,000 plus registered nonprofits that provide critical services, everything from childcare to housing to healthcare, support for older adults, support for the immigration, and protection of all New Yorkers from federal aggression, where all New Yorkers can seek worship and healthcare free from harassment. Her commitment to the nonprofit sector not only lifts up those in need, but also supports one of the largest and most impactful workforces in the state. So in 2023, the governor also reimagined the New York Office of Faith and Nonprofit Development Services. And in just a little bit, you'll be hearing from my colleague, Chloe, who's one of the managers in that office. And she'll share more with you about the important work that they've been doing statewide. In my day-to-day role, I primarily support contracting processes and I help the nonprofits navigate through their issues or questions around their contracts and grants. And you know we're I know late payments is a big issue for many nonprofits, and I promise you we're working on it. So just give us a little time. We've got stuff coming down the pike, hopefully in the very near future, and we hope to see some changes. I also work as a bridge between state government and the nonprofit sector to help strengthen the relationship and make sure that your voices are heard. And when I say that I'm the nonprofit unit person and I'm full of resources. And by that I just want to show you really quickly, let me just share with you. Okay, so what you see here is some of the resources that you'll find in the nonprofit unit. Here's the link if you want to go into the nonprofit unit website link. And these are the resources, more or less, the sections that you'll see. The not-for-profit contracting advisory committee meetings, the schedule and the list of the board members are there. These are meetings that we hold 4 times a year. and there's about 16 members on the committee board. I also have meetings and events posted, and again, you'll see postings for I call it the NFPCAC. It's just an acronym for this very long line right here, and the meetings and dates and times that the meetings are scheduled for. I also post nonprofit trainings and webinars and workshops that are available for the nonprofits. I also post the featured news that come from the governor's initiatives and any funding opportunities. I also do a funding opportunities, sort of an email blast. It's from SFS, and Kristen later on will talk about more about that. But I signed up for the SFS just to receive the direct notifications whenever any of the available grants come on board on the SFS website. So what I do is I just bunch them together into one email, and then I send that out to everyone that I have on my distribution list just to keep everyone informed. And I do the same thing with the trainings and webinars and workshops. You'll also see a list of 7 state contract agencies. Those are the agencies, mostly human service agencies that I work closely with. And you'll see that it'll also show their contact information as well as a link to their agency and the funding opportunities from their agency. For new and emerging nonprofits, there's a step-by-step. There, towards the bottom of the screen, you'll see there's a step-by-step from incorporation to SFF registration and pre-qualification, which again, my colleague Kristen Hamilton will talk about a little bit. Another good source for funding opportunities and contract opportunities is the New York State Contract Reporter, and that's pretty much the state's official website where all the agencies sort of put in their contract opportunities that go in there. You can filter it out by need and or location, and it'll kind of like it'll filter it out for you. You can reach me at this email. It's the nonprofit unit general inbox. Uh, I get I check this email every day, and you can come to me with questions or concerns you may be having, contract issues that you may be having. Feel free to send that to me. Just send me your information with the contract number, agency you're working with, how long it's been delayed, what amount are you owed, that type of thing. Um, we're looking to get out a form officially to everyone, but we're just working on the platform and how to put it together. So, but it'll be going out soon, hopefully. And I also have the New York Food Connect database and map resource. This is a really great resource for food assistance, and my colleague Susan Zimmett, who will be presenting on food security, is also going to talk more about that also. Okay, so the schedule for the meeting, let me just stop sharing here real quickly, and I'm going to get the schedule on board. So these are the meetings that we're having this year. We had our February and April meeting. We have one coming up in a few weeks on June 9th. So if you're not, or if you don't think you're on my distribution list, please email me at the nonprofit's email address and let me know. Give me your name, your title, the name of your organization, and your email address so that I can add you onto the distribution list. And then going forward, you'll always get the reminder notifications that I go crazy sending out to everybody just before the meetings, as well as for any opportunities and programs that come up as well. Also, those two slides, I will be sending it to Amy and Kelly, and they'll be more than happy to share it with you. So that's what I have. And again, here in front of you, you have a team of dedicated state workers who our hearts are big, and we're here to help you. So please, if there's anything you ever need from any one of us, don't hesitate to reach out to us, and just know that you have friends at these agencies that will be presenting to you today. And we're looking to support you and your organization as best that we can with any of the issues or questions that you may be having. So that wrapped me up, and I will happily pass it over to my colleague Chloe Andrade from the New York State Office of Faith and Nonprofit Development Services. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Lil. Good morning, everyone. My name is Chloe Andrade, and I'm the Programs and Initiatives Manager for the Office of Faith and Nonprofit Development Services. And I'm happy to be here today to lead this presentation, which I hope will be helpful in providing some really key information. So just want to confirm you can see it. Okay, great. So the Office of Faith and Nonprofit Development Services is housed within the Department of State, and it was reimagined by Governor Kathy Hochul in 2023, with the goal to ensure that we were working very closely not only with faith-based organizations but nonprofit organizations across the entire state. And this office fosters growth, equity, and connection. Our main goal is to ensure that through these conversations, we are able to empower organizations by providing essential information alongside other state agencies, which you are going to be hearing from today, and facilitating access to state grants while enhancing capacity of these organizations and creating a more inclusive and supportive environment for all New Yorkers. Our approach is very equity centered, so we ensure to prioritize underserved communities to ensure fair and inclusive access to resources. Over the past 2 years, we've held many roundtables. We actually held a 62 county tour in 2024, where we spoke with many community leaders across the state. And one of the things that really stood out to us is that they had said that over the past few decades, they didn't always feel connected to resources or that they didn't feel heard. And so our goal is to ensure that we take the lead on being active listeners, on being inclusive, on ensuring that we're a clear point of access, and that we establish trusting relationships with faith-based organizations. So it's very partnership driven. And additionally, as we have conversations or hold meetings with faith leaders and community leaders, we also want to point out areas where we can help with capacity building. So we serve as a bridge and provide a lot of technical assistance in our capacity. And so that in turn helps to build the bandwidth of organizations that don't always know where to find the proper information. A lot of websites have so much information, you have to navigate through so many different menus. And so we've gone through the effort of trying to streamline that process and identify key resources that we know are going to be beneficial to these organizations. And we're collaborative. So today's presentation is an example of our mission to ensure that we're doing interagency collaboration, because obviously we can do better and more impactful work together as state organizations. And we also ensure that we do interfaith collaboration. So we host specific meetings and events like I've shared, specifically for faith leaders. Alongside the relaunch of the office, it was also very important to create the first New York State Interfaith Council. So Governor Kathy Hochul appointed 20 plus leaders, and a lot of them are photographed here. And at that time in 2023, she appointed these leaders to serve as senior advisors and kind of help with statewide large scale initiatives. And since 2024, after we completed our 62 county tour, we realized that it was also important to expand it on a more granular level and appoint county liaisons. So we have county liaisons across the state who work very closely with us to serve as trusted messengers, to work with us to promote unity, to create interfaith dialogue, and to serve as connectors between New York State and the community. So we work very closely with sharing info as it comes to us, whether that's grant opportunities, training programs, opportunities to engage in different community meetings. And also we gather intel, so they share different issues that are affecting their communities so that we could keep track of that and understand, where to share that type of information with our executive team. Some of the initiatives that we have been working on, I have already covered. So we do a lot of coalition and capacity building. One thing that I do want to point out, in addition to some of the events that we host, is we spend a lot of time doing outreach. So we're a small team, and a lot of our outreach is done by phone. And so we reach out to faith leaders to schedule one-to-one calls where we gather information about the issues that are affecting them and then identify proactive, solution-oriented ways where we can support them. So at the time of the conversation, we'll kind of identify the resources that are going to benefit them. And then if they need additional support with access to SFS or understanding, how to apply for grants will ensure that we make those connections. And we also host monthly webinars. So every month we invite different state agencies to come and talk about the work that they lead at their state agency and to highlight the programs that our faith communities can take advantage of. Additionally, we've been working on different toolkits. So after this presentation, you should be getting digital copies of all of our presentations. And I strongly encourage you to sign up for our newsletter, as well as stay, tuned into our website because we're constantly updating it. And some of those updates will include toolkits that I've been working on very closely with state agencies. We'll have digital copies of these. And so we've been working over the past 2 years on different guidebooks that we realize will not only benefit faith institutions, but also nonprofit organizations around different issues that are very common, whether it's, how to proactively deal with gender-based violence. We're working very closely with the Office for Prevention of Domestic Violence, or how to make worship spaces more accessible. So we've been working with the Office for People with Developmental Disabilities, or how to create a nonprofit. We get a lot of inquiries, and the Department of State is basically responsible for assisting with that, one of those steps in the process to certify nonprofits. And so we have created a mini guide for that. So all of this is going to be on our website. Additionally, we have a grants team, and our grants team does a lot of technical assistance on supporting organizations or even individuals who are looking to start an organization to understand how to effectively navigate and access state funding resources, whether that's, the basic 101 and how to register with SFS and how to pre-qualify. And I won't go too deep into this because we have the expert who's going to be presenting on this after I go. But this is really important because we recognize that a lot of our organizations require, more support. Can you still hear me? I just want to make sure.
Yes,
Okay. Okay, thank you. Sorry, I just heard something on my microphone,
we
on
can't
my
see.
headset.
We can't see you, but we can hear you.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you. Um, and then the other thing I'd like to point out, in addition to the toolkits and the webinar series, is that Governor Kathy Hochul has been very committed to mental health, making sure that all New Yorkers have mental health supports. It doesn't matter. As long as you're a New Yorker, you live in New York, you should have access to mental health supports. And one of the things that we've really been focusing on and partnering with the Office of Mental Health is to promote a free youth mental health first aid training, which is preparing adults and community members to support young people ages 12 to 18 who may be experiencing a mental health challenge, whether, that also could be substance or use concern or some sort of crisis. The training is about 8 hours long, and it's being administered by an organization called Mahaney's. It's Mental Health Association for New York State. They're getting the funding from the Office for Mental Health. And I can post the links in the chat after my presentation so you can look more into it. They have another training that's for youth. You can read more about that. It's a peer-to-peer training. But this is a really, really great opportunity if you are currently offering mental health services or like small groups or any programming for youth, or if you're looking to start a program like this. We understand that our young people really need this support, and it can be a bit of a touchy subject with kids, even with adults. And so I know Mahaney's is doing an excellent job working with our faith leaders and just our community leaders in general to offer this training. So I strongly encourage you to take advantage of it. Lastly, I just wanted to share our contact information. So I have my email here, our grant program manager email, and then our office contact info, and you'll get this went by email. And then I just want to say, that our office is looking to partner with you. We're here to support, connect, and empower your mission. We want to make sure that we continue to foster collaboration, equity, and innovation across New York State in partnership with our amazing colleagues who, are presenting today. We're very privileged to do this, and we're very excited to be able to share this information with you because we know that it's needed. And then here is the QR code if you are interested in signing up for our newsletter. We have a webinar next month where we're featuring NAMI, who will be talking about, in honor of mental health, they will be talking about the services that they offer in general, but also specifically for faith communities. So please make sure to go to our website, scroll down. You can sign up for the webinar there. We also have existing grant opportunities, not just state opportunities, but also grant opportunities offered through foundations and municipalities. So make sure you take advantage of looking up those opportunities, and all of our contact information is there. So please click on the QR code if you are interested in doing that right now. And that concludes my presentation. So again, it was, sorry, I don't know why my camera turned off. I apologize for that. It was a pleasure to present to you. I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Kristen Hamilton, who is the Assistant Director for Grants Management.
Good morning. It's bright and early, so thanks for having us. And my name is Kristen Hamilton. I'm the Assistant Director of Grants Management for the state. I work at the Office of Information Technology Services. And we've been running this unit for about 14 years. So we've seen a lot of grant stuff go on through the years. Today we're going to talk a little bit about SFS, which is our enterprise system for grants. Almost all state grants will go through this system. And my team, which is, we don't work for SFS, we work for ITS, because we do more of the business side of grants as well as the technical side. They are ones that can help you. They are the ones that if you send a help desk ticket, in almost all cases, it will go directly to them. If there's anything that says grants or, they figure out that it's grants, and they always do. They send it to us, and then my team will work with it. And my team has been working on this stuff for a long time. So they're not like the technical SFS help desk. Okay, so what are the things that we do? I'm not going to go through all of this because we're trying to move quickly today. I will say you're going to, just like everybody has said, you're going to get this presentation after the presentation is over. And it's super link heavy. Mine is basically like a mess of links because this type of stuff is really hard to get you to follow during a presentation. If I were to go through every single screen, you're not going to remember any of them. And it's not super useful. So what we've done is I do sort of a policy overview, kind of a quick overview of the things that you must know, and then a lot of links to get you to where you have, what you need. And then if you have questions, you can always contact us. Okay, so today we're going to mainly talk about what's called pre-qualification and SFS. Pre-qualification is a policy that is performed through SFS, but we'll get there in a minute. First thing is we've got a grants management website. This is informational. There's the big link. You'll be able to get there. It's got a whole bunch of stuff, but we have it all set up very similarly. There are functions that you have to do in order to do SFS. One is you have to register. The second is you have to pre-qualify if you're a not-for-profit. The third is that you would set up, actually the second is access. The third is pre-qualification. We have pages on our website for each of those functions so that you are able to, if you need to register, you're going to go to that page. You're not going to learn all about the other stuff until you're ready for it. We tried to make it a little more digestible. So they're all set up very similarly, all of our pages. We have, regular menu across the top, but then on the end, the bottom, on the left-hand side, you're going to have some steps. How to do it, the instructions for any documents that you might have, how to get help, and then where the forms live, the things that you might need for each section of the work. Okay, that's not SFS though. That's our informational website, Grants Management. It's like a companion website. Think of it that way. Okay, so here are the registration forms in case you don't want to go to our website. If you just want to directly go there to grab them, you can do that. We have a couple of different options on here. We have new SFS registration and then access grants management. Access grants management would be if you are already registered, but you've never done grants or you've never pre-qualified, there's like an extra piece of information we need. If you know you are brand new and you've never gotten an SFS ID, you've never gotten funds from the state, you've never gotten anything sent to your bank account, you probably need you're new. So you would fill out the form that you're linked to, as well as the W-9 form, which is also linked there. That's a tax form. Your CFO will know how to fill it out. I can't tell you because it's your tax information. It's the federal form. It's just adapted for the state with like different, title and things like that. But you do have to send both of those things, and they do need to be notarized. That's for your protection. We need the head of the organization, your president, your CFO, your CEO, executive director, the guy at the top that's running the business, not your board chair. I want the one who's actually like doing the day-to-day work. That's who needs to sign up for this. And the reason is there's going to be bank account info in there. There's going to be stuff you want to make sure that your executive director is the one who's saying, yep, we want to do this. We don't want a rogue secretary being like, okay, we're going to sign up for this and, go ahead and do this. And then nobody knows that this happened, right? So it's for your protection, basically. So that's what you send all of that to my guy. There's an email, I think the next page, and it's my staff. All he does is registration. So you can email him if you have questions. A good question people ask me is, I just don't know if I'm new or not. And if you email this dude, he'll tell you. He'll look you up and let you know, nope, you're brand new, or, this is what you need or whatever. Okay, but we need time. We need 5 to 10 days to do this. And that's because of a lot of reasons. There's stuff that goes on behind the scenes. There's, computers that talk to each other. There's checks that go on in terms of your EIN and your registered name. So there's stuff that goes on. And then if there's questions, we have to go back and forth. So we need 5 to 10 days. I can't tell you how many people will come to me 3 days before a grant application is due and say, I need to be registered and pre-qualified. And my answer is, you don't really have a chance of that happening. I mean, you can try, but it's not a process that can be done in 3 days. You need to do it ahead of time. Okay. I just told you all this stuff, but here you go. So you have it. This is the email I told you about. You're going to get Sid if you send it there, and he's going to help you out. Okay. Access and roles. Once you're in SFS, you need to figure out who's going to do what. Now, you've got already your head of the organization, when he sends in that form that we talked about, he becomes the primary contact. And the primary contact, the head of the organization, they're going to get an email. That email is going to say, hey, here's your login name. Then you're going to get another email which says, here's your password. We don't send them together for security. And that welcome email with your login name is going to have a whole mess of information. Read it, because that's going to help you get to where you need to be. There's a lot of links in it. It's not formatted great. I apologize for that. I don't get to do that stuff. SFS does that. But read it. It'll help you out. Okay. So that person becomes the delegated administrator. That's the title of the role that they would have, but they're already going to have it. So they're going to go in and they would then decide, who do I want to give access to? And think about it, like seriously, like you want to be careful about who you're giving access to. And what do I want them to do? What are their functions? Some not-for-profits, you got one guy who's doing everything, right? Small, acting as the CFO, the CEO, the program manager. I get that. We also have very large organizations with very complicated org charts, and they might need to think a lot more carefully about it. So just know that. Okay, so how are you going to know what the roles are, and how are you going to know who to give them to? There's two resources here. The second one is the most important. It's an interactive PDF. I always say this. I don't know who remembers the Choose Your Own Adventure books, but that's what I consider this. You go in, it's interactive. You're going to say, my job, and you're going to pick a box. And so the box might bear a link, and it might be my job is to sign contracts. I'm going to sign contracts. So I sign contracts, and then up is going to pop a name or a role. It's going to say, you need the blank. I don't know what the name of that role is. Let's say it's contract processor. You need the contract processor role. An easier one is pre-qualification. You know that who's going to do pre-qualification. So you're right. I'm going to do pre-qualification applications. And then up pops, you need the pre-qualification processor role. So that's how you're going to find out what you need based on your function within the agency. But also we have the second guide. This is an Excel guide. This everybody gets for SFS. It's not just grants. It's every role that exists in SFS. And there's a lot. So you might just want that for reference someday. It also has, there's like the description name, which is more normal, like contract manager, pre-qualification processor. There's also like a system name that's like LBRK 12345. It's some stupid thing. This first guide will give you like the corresponding, like contract manager is CF for whatever. Okay, so those are those two things. Once you know who you want to give stuff to, you have to set up their accounts. Now, your head of the organization who has this role to begin with might say, I don't want anything to do with this. This isn't my job. I have to go run the organization. I need my program manager to do these things. That's fine. Once you've gotten in, it's totally up to you guys what to do and who to give access to. It's just that we want to be really careful about who we give access to. We want to make sure that it's, authorized. But you guys can go hog wild and give whoever you want access. Now, I would be careful because it is powerful. But, you're able to do whatever you want. So you could say, program manager is now going to be the guy who's doing this, who's going to be doing the role stuff. You would give them the delegated administrator role. And how you do that is in these two documents right here. You can create a brand new account. And then once that account is created, how do you add roles to it? These job aids, that's what JA means, are step-by-step little digestible documents, 3-4 pages tops. They're going to have screenshots, and they explain how to do a very small function in the system. We also have a manual, which is 240 pages and has tons of links and different things. You can, and I'll give you the link to that too. People learn in all different ways, right? So we have the people that do the guides. That makes sense. We have people who just want to read a manual and follow it that way. We have people who like to watch a video. So we do have video walkthroughs of each of the screens that we've recorded for you. So there's lots of different ways. Personally, this is the way I like it, these short, digestible things, but everybody learns differently. Okay. Also, if you don't know what I'm talking about, none of this sounds familiar, you don't know if you're enrolled or whatever, just contact our help desk. They're going to tell you or get you set up. I will say the only thing that they're going to give you a hard time on, we're not supposed to give out the name of the primary contact. So the idea would be like, I could call, right? And be like, hey, I'm, I'm the program manager for the nonprofit resource hub. Who's my primary contact? We got to be really careful about that. So it's almost like if you know the primary contact, we can confirm it. So if you say it's Kristen Hamilton, we can be like, yep, you're right. Go talk to them. They're going to get you access. If they have no idea, they're going to need to get a new primary contact. And that would mean they need to send the form in again. If your primary contact, if the delegate administrator or the guy that's making those decisions and doing it in the system leaves, gets a new job, I don't know, retires, you need to have a second person set up in there to like carry it on, right? Otherwise you're stuck and we got to start over with the new person. So that's kind of what that's about. And a lot of people forget to do that. All right, pre-qualification, picture of our website, same deal, how to find all of the stuff I'm telling you. What is pre-qual? Pre-qualification is a system by which we pre-certify, pre-qualify not-for-profits to do business with the state, to do grants with the state. One of the things we found 13 years ago when we created this was, we might go through an entire application process. Somebody gets a grant, an award. We have reviewed it. So a lot of staff work went in on our side. A lot of staff work went in on your side. And then we find out when we go to issue your contract, you haven't done taxes in 5 years, which is a problem. We need you to do your taxes. So, we can't give you the award and we got to start over. So we're going to find all that stuff out ahead of time. We're going to make sure that your name is in there correctly. We're going to make sure that, all of your ducks are in a row so that when you get an award, hopefully, you're all set to just move. And Lil talked about, slowdowns and contract slowdowns and money slowdowns. A lot of that has to do with this. So when we can get these things moving more quickly, it's better. So, all right. So that's why pre-qualification is there. A lot of people think we're there to root out fraud because there's a lot of questions looking to kind of get at, are you are you a ethical organization, that type of thing? And sure, we're going to try that, but that's not the main thing. We're not looking for problems. What we want to do is build your capacity and make sure that you're at, so that you don't stumble into fraud. That's more of what we found than people trying to, do ill will to themselves or to the state. More often it's that people just aren't versed on what they're supposed to be doing and they make mistakes. So that we want to help that ahead of time. Okay. The stuff I talked about just now, though, the registration, that's not pre-qualification. A lot of people think once they got registered, all done. Nope, that's step one. Now we're getting into step two. So what is it? What do? You're going to go into SFS. You're going to fill out a series of questions and answers. You're going to upload a set of documents, and then you're going to submit it. And what's going to happen is a pre-qualification officer, a pre-qualification specialist from the state, and we have them at every single state agency that does grants, just about. They are all trained similarly together. It's not like each agency does it differently. They all are following the same standards. So it doesn't really matter who you pick for most purposes. So they're going to review it. In most cases, there's some questions and they kind of engage in a back and forth with you. And eventually, almost everybody gets pre-qualified. Again, we need time because the process I just described does take time. It's not like we can do it in 2 hours. It can take days. We have a lot of pre-quals at different times. So we reserve 5 to 10 days from the time you submit it. We need to make sure that we have it and that's submit it correctly, completely with the right stuff. So again, if you're applying for a grant in June, do it now so that we're all set up and you're ready to just do the grant at that point and not all of this stuff. Now, if you are not pre-qualified, we cannot review your application, your grant application. And what that means is you will, go through all that work in SFS to complete a grant application. And when you go to hit that submit button, SFS is going to say, no, you're not pre-qualified. You can't submit. So it won't even let you submit. If you're doing a grant outside of SFS, some things are offered that way. You might be allowed to submit through their system because they don't have the connection that we have to pre-qual, or if it's on paper, but they won't be able, they're going to look and they're going to say, were they pre-qualified or not? And if you weren't, they have to throw out your application. So long story short, make sure you're pre-qualified. Start early to end early. That's what we always say. Okay, just said all of that. But I will say, you're pre-qualified for up to a year, depending on when you pre-qualify based on your fiscal year. Once you get into a pattern of doing it each year, it's a year basically. You do the first time and then the second, third, fourth time, everything but the financial documents carry over. So you're basically just checking, does it look right? Did anything change? And then your financial documents, we need to upload those annually because those two change. Okay. What are the questions and answers? There's a list on our website in case you don't want to go through all of that registration process to just find out what is in there. So that direct link will take you directly to our website, which is just the informational one that just has a list of the questions and answers. That's it. And what you need document-wise. But those questions and answers fall under a few categories: your capacity, your compliance, and your integrity. We want to make sure that you don't have some crazy, lawsuit going on that, a bad one, right? Not like a kind of like just whatever, like a really bad thing going on. We want to make sure that we're aware of that. Doesn't mean that you're not going to get pre-qualified. It just means that we need to be aware and look into it. Okay. So documents that must be included. We've got your certificate of incorporation. We've got, if you are doing business with another name, we do, like legally, we do need that certificate. We need your 501c determination letter if you have become a 501c and gotten your tax exemption from the feds. Annually, we need your 990, your audit, and your CHAR, and there's different requirements. I'm not going to get into all of them. I will say if there's any faith-based organizations in the group, we do have some faith-based substitutions, and I think that's on the next page, so I'm not going to get into that. But there are some things that the faith-based people don't need based on being a religious corporation. Okay, but we need your board of director profile. We have templates for this on our website. Your resumes for just like your CFO, your CEO, a couple of the top people. We need your bylaws and we need an org chart. And those are things that we review just to make sure they make some sense. Okay, I guess I don't have the faith-based stuff in here, so I'm going to make sure I send you that slide as well. Okay. So this is what the website looks like. I'm not going to get into it. This is, and by the website, I mean the enterprise system. I'm not going to get into all of it. But it's here so that you can see it and then follow along when you're actually in the system. But there are a couple of things I want to tell you. It's not that. This is just a picture of what the questions look like that you have to fill out. Okay, here's the big one. On here, there's this thing that says state agency. And then there's like, choices. There's like 30 choices. People always ask me, what am I supposed to pick there? All that is a way for us to route applications in a fair manner, meaning if everybody picked Department of Health, they would be very busy. Their 10 pre-qualification specialists that's all they would be able to do. And the other 300 throughout the state would have nothing to do. So the idea is we ask you to pick the agency that you do the most business with, not because they're going to know more about it, just because we were looking for a fair reason. And this is what I came up with in the middle of the night 13 years ago. So pick who, you do the most business with. If you don't know, pick what makes sense. If you're an art agency, pick NISCA, right? The Council of the Arts. If you're a health agency, pick health. If you have no idea, pick the one that looks the most interesting to you. It's not the end of the world. It's just to route it. Okay. These are how you upload documents. There is instruction about that. This is important. Pre-qualification contacts. These are the people. So we do send out reminders. We know that a year after you've initially pre-qualified, you're going to forget that it's time to re-up, right? To redo it. Everybody does. So this space is where you're going to put everybody that you want to get an email when you're expiring. And you're going to get 4 at least. You're going to get a 30 days before, 20 days before, 10 days before, and then like the day of. The more people hear, the better, because somebody might leave, somebody might retire, you forget, and then nobody gets the emails because these people aren't here anymore. So just make sure that you have a few people in there that you're pretty sure are going to be there next year and that check their email. That we do have that. Sometimes people don't remember to check their email. Okay. Submission. You've got to go ahead and submit. You're going to, attest to some stuff that you're allowed to do this. I will say that when things are expiring, there are a couple times a year when a large group of you guys expire. One is May 15th and one is November 15th. That has to do with the end of your fiscal years, has to do with a fiscal year ending 12/31 or a fiscal year ending, I think it's 3/31. It's the 2 big ones for the year. And when that happens, we have thousands of people expire at the same time because they didn't go in ahead of time. So if you're applying for a grant around that time, when you're those 2 big dates, there's going to be competition to get them in and to get them done quickly. So again, just more reason to get things done fast and ahead of time before they expire, when everybody gets that email and freaks out. Okay, here's some resources. One's a manual. This is just about the questions and answers, and the documents kind of tells you what we're looking for in most cases for the questions and answers. So take a look at them. It's helpful when you're filling it out. Here's just more information. This is that big handbook I talked about. And here's a webinar that's going to take you right through each of the screens, the ones I just showed you kind of quickly, and more. I'm not going to go through much of this, but I will say we have a sign up, and just follow the slides. You'll be able to do it on your own, but because there's links and everything. But you're able to search for everything that's listed through SFS. All state agencies are supposed to list their grants through here. Most of them do. So you're able to, just search and say, hey, I'm interested in health grants. I'm going to put health in the word in the grant opportunity and see what pops. Or you can just look for everything if you want. But an easier way to do it would be to sign up for notifications. So you're going to go to this link. You're going to fill out 5 pieces of information that are very simple. You don't have to log in. You don't have to have an SFS ID. You just have to have a name and email and org, and really write whatever you want. We're not paying attention to it. It's just for a mailing list. So you've got to pick service areas. The service areas, everybody has to categorize a grant. So when they categorize a grant, they're going to say it's one of these or all of them or some of them. And you're going to get notifications based on what you chose here. Choose them all. I know it sounds weird. Just choose them all, because you never know. Things get posted in weird ways. I'm not going to go through my examples, but there are times when you would just not expect a grant to be offered through, a certain title when it is. Sign up for all of them. It's not that many, and they come in the middle of the night. You can even ignore the links if you want. Okay. These are just direct links to everything I've talked about. Here's our help desk. Our help desk has a lot of info. More information you give them, the better. When you are trying to get help, it'll just help them help you, more quickly. All right, we'll do questions after. And from that, I thank you. I am going to turn it over to my good friend, Susan Zemet, who is, and I don't know her. We're really bad at titles in New York State. So hers is 100-year name, 100 things long. I call her the food guru, the anti-hunger guru, but it's the governor's anti-hunger, maybe policy coordinator. She's going to tell me if I've got that wrong. Take it away, Susan. You're on mute.
Okay, thank you. So I'm actually the New York State I'm the New York State Food and Anti-Hunger Policy Coordinator. And I was told once, it's not the typical title for New York State. We have much simpler titles, but for whatever reason, that's my title. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for hosting this. I'd like to thank Lil for pulling this all together. And we're going to talk about food. And the reason why I'm a part of this illustrious task force is because so many of the not-for-profits actually do deal with food. So many not-for-profits are food pantries. Many of the churches and synagogues and mosques actually have food pantries. A lot of your programs have to have after-school food programs or things like that. So this was added to the presentation because food is so important. So next slide, thanks. So just let's start by taking a look at hunger in New York State. 14.5% of our New York State residents, which is 2.8 million people, live in food insecure households in New York State, which basically means that they might not know where their next meal is coming from, or they might not have enough money to buy food for the month. 750,000 are children, 478,000 are seniors. And what I like to say before we move on is these are not just numbers. These are people that live next door to us. That might be your children's friend. That might be a grandparent, that people don't know is sitting home starving kind of stuff. And these are actual people. So they're just not numbers on a chart. I also just want to say that food security, like so many things, we get numbers that are a couple of years old. And so this was done in 2023. The federal government is not going to even measure this anymore. So every state is now trying to figure out how we're going to measure hunger in our state. For some reason, to think if we don't measure it, that means people aren't hungry is the most ridiculous thing. But what I can say is the numbers are higher than what is being reflected now. So New York food banks reported 62% more households and individuals coming, needing food in 2022 compared to 2019. The food pantries, now look at, the food banks are looked at like the wholesaler. They're the big box buildings that hold a lot of food, and then they get the food to the pantries, and the pantries are like the retailers where they literally work with you to give you the food. So the pantries found the food banks were serving 62% more households in 2022 compared to 2019. The food pantries reported service level increases of up to 600%. More people coming to their doors to get food it averages about 70% with pantries. So that's an increase after the pandemic. So it's pretty scary. And then, of course, you have the 9.1% increase in the cost of food since April 2022. So you have more people needing food, and it's more expensive. Now, unfortunately, our federal government did not help the situation when it comes to food security. In early 2025, Congress passed and the president signed the legislation that dramatically impacts the social safety net for those in need of support. They made federal changes to the SNAP program, which is what used to be food stamps, jeopardizing nearly 3 million of our fellow New Yorkers who rely on food on their table. It shifts unsustainable costs onto states and local governments. And these actions of shifting the cost that the federal government used to pick up to now to the state and local governments will cost us about $1.4 billion annually. So that's $1.4 billion that we used to have the federal government pick up that we now have to find money to cover so we can implement food stamps and all of these food security programs. And we're very, very fortunate in New York State that we have a governor and a legislature that will make sure that people get fed and will not walk away from this need. And unfortunately, in some other states, you're going to find some states that are going to say, we can't afford to do this program anymore. The cost is too great. We're not going to do food stamps. But that will not happen in New York State. So we are all blessed to be living in a state where people actually care. Next slide. They also expanded SNAP work reporting requirements and restricted eligibility for immigrants, putting an estimated 400,000 New Yorkers at risk of losing benefits. And actually, that we're going to start to see the impact now. This is now with May coming. This is when we're going to start to see people saying, "Oh my God, I'm not getting benefits anymore." And the state has been working really, really hard to try to figure out how we can ensure that those losing benefits will still be able to put food on the table. So not an easy task at all. Then on top of it, you've got the federal government saying that we want to make America healthy. And then what did they do? They took away what was called the SNAP Ed program. A lot of the not-for-profits on here might have run SNAP Ed programs. And that was the program that was designed specifically to help people on SNAP understand how to cook fresh vegetables that they've never used before because they're not culturally their food or their vegetable, how to cook. And then also it would give people who didn't have pots and pans, and cooking utensils, the ability to get the utensils they needed to cook. And they pulled this away, and it's a real shame because it was a wonderful program. What I have to say in New York State was our SNAP Ed providers really had created a wonderful working relationship, getting great stuff out through the state that has now been pulled and taken away from us. Next slide. And then we had the shutdown. So if things weren't bad enough, then we had to have the shutdown. So the federal government was shut down, threatened to cut $650 million in monthly benefits to roughly 3 million New Yorkers. And our agency every day during the shutdown, even Saturday and Sundays, had emergency calls trying to talk about what we can do, what we can't do. Can we give SNAP benefits this month? Can we only give half SNAP benefits? Are we not able to give any benefits? It was a horrible situation where every day we didn't know what to do, and if the federal government was going to sue us, it was not good. Thank goodness for our attorney generals, the Democratic attorney generals. They all came together. They sued the state. They sued the federal government, and basically everything sort of worked out. But during this period, Governor Hochul did commit an additional $65 million for emergency food assistance to make sure nobody was missing out on being able to feed their family. Now, we're going to get into the governor's affordability agenda. And the reason we talk about this is because it's very important to understand when you talk about hunger, you can't just talk about how much money the food bank's getting and the food pantry's getting and how much food can we get for free through this. Basically, when you talk about food insecurity, you have to understand that people that are low income, they spend their money that they have first on paying their rent. So this way they have a house that they can live in and they're not on the street. Then they pay for their heat so they don't freeze during the winter. And we all know how much electricity and heat went up this past year. So that was a lot of money. Then if they have health care, they try to pay for that next. And God forbid their car breaks down, they have to fix that to get to work. They basically, then if they have money, they'll go buy food. Normally they don't have money, especially after this past year with the cost of the increase of food and heat and electricity. And basically people end up having to go to food banks and food pantries. So the affordability agenda that the governor is focusing on is critical to make the issues that low-income people need, like housing, heating, and situations like that, they need to deal with that before we could really deal with food security. So passing the universal school meal last year and increasing it this year is probably one of the biggest and greatest legislation that has been done in the area of food security, because now 2.7 million students will be going to school and can get free breakfast and free lunch. And it's really critically important because a lot of low-income kids, that's where they get fed. You know, when they go to school, they get breakfast and they get lunch. And when you have kids that were on free and reduced meals, a lot of the kids, especially the high school kids, would be too embarrassed to get a free meal, so they would rather just not eat. So having every kid be able to go through the line and get a free meal is major, major, major. And we have to thank the legislature and the governor for implementing this. Then there's a summer EBT. Same exact thing. You've got high school kids who do not want to go to a summer congregate meal that's basically summer camp for kids to get a free meal. And so they don't go. And then they engage in some things that are not really that great to raise money to be able to feed themselves. So summer EBT is a program where actually money gets put onto the family's EBT card for every child that's eligible, so the parent can then go buy food for the kid over the summer. Another great program that the legislature and the governor implemented, which is critical to feeding our children in New York State. Then this year, the child tax credit was the first time that you could actually put in on your taxes to get a tax credit for you if you had children under the age of 4, and also up to children 4 through 16. During COVID, if people remember, they did a federal child tax credit, and that reduced child poverty by 50%. When something that simple could make that much of an impact, it should be implemented nationally forever. But after COVID, it went away. Fortunately, New York State stepped up to the plate. They amped up their child tax credit, and hopefully it's going to make a big difference this year, again, in child poverty. And it's the largest expansion of the New York State's child tax credit in history, and it's doubling the size of the credit going out to families, which again is critical when food is so expensive. Okay, in this year's budget, also, there was a proposed programs for HIPNAP and PLATE. The governor and the legislature put additional investments into the Hunger Prevention Nutrition Assistance Program. This is a program where the only state in the country that has a program where the state directly gives money to the food banks and pantries so they could buy food. They could use it to help with capital improvements. So if they need a new refrigerator, they can buy it. If they need to replace their roof, they can do it. If they need money to hire somebody, they can do it. And that's through the HIPNAP program. For too many years, that program was underfunded and did not provide enough money for the pantries and food banks to actually do what they needed to do. But we've been slightly increasing it through the years. And in this year, the investment has been really phenomenal. And we've gotten the two programs, HIPNAP, and I'll talk about Nourish New York, up to levels that will really make a difference this year going forward for our food banks and pantries. So hopefully it's going to be a great budget year, at least for us. The governor established a New York Place, which is a new capital program that is going to allow food banks and pantries to have additional money for capital investment, again, for things like refrigerators, box trucks, fixing their roofs and stuff, which is critical for food pantries because really we want most of their money to be able to purchase food to feed the people that need food that show up at their door. Okay, then one of the most important things happening right now is EPT modernization. I don't know if a lot of you know about what's been called the skimming, which is money is being illegally stolen from SNAP accounts nationwide. So what happens is if you have a EBT card, which is like a credit card, you go to, scan your EBT card to pay for the food you just purchased, and all of a sudden you find out your bank account is wiped clean. You have no SNAP money. That's because somebody was able to skim your card, swipe all of your money, and all of a sudden you have no money. Major, major scam going across the country. It's from bad players from overseas, and it's billions and billions of dollars. It's a real problem. There was a time when the federal and state government was sort of refilling the money on the cards, but that's not the case anymore. So it's a real bad problem. So the state is working really hard to do what's called a chip card, like they have on credit cards. So to make the EBT card more secure, and that's the number one priority within OTDA right now, is to get that SNAP card more secure so people do not lose their money. A really horrible situation. So also, when we talked about the summer meal sites, about how these congregate meals, we're expanding the free summer meal sites. We're trying to make sure there's more support for the summer meal programs in rural communities. And what the governor did was she asked every state agency to basically amplify the message of summer EBT to all of their clients to make sure everybody claims the money so their children get fed. Okay, another program that is major, and will make a big difference for people that are low income is universal child care. I think we all read about how Governor Hochul helped the mayor of New York City to basically implement his plan to have free child care in New York City. She came up with money for that, and she's looking to expand it around the state. And once again, that is really important to help parents be able to not have to worry about how to pay for childcare so they can actually go out and work and make money to pay their rent, their heat, and maybe be able to buy food. So what are the opportunities for not-for-profits? Here's a very big opportunity that a lot of not-for-profits don't know about, and it's called the procurement opportunity. So New York State, we have very good contracts because we buy in great quantity. So we buy a lot of telephones, we buy a lot of computers, we buy a lot of trucks, we buy a lot of food. And so if you're a not-for-profit, you could just register with the Attorney General's office, and then you can actually go onto the New York State Procurement website, and you can actually purchase through that. Now, what's also great was in New York City, a group of pantries, very big pantries and soup kitchens in New York City came together, created a roundtable. They put all their money together in a pilot program. They did joint purchasing through the OGS website, and they saved 20% on their food purchases and whatever they had to purchase. So in today's time, when you have less money, food is more expensive. If you can save 20% by purchasing together with other organizations, that's a huge savings. And so we're going to try to work to try to put together some more roundtables in different parts of the state to be able to get not-for-profits to benefit from this. Restaurant Meals Program, another program to help people who are hungry. It's a very defined program. It's not for everybody on SNAP, but it's for people who are 60 years or older, who are undomiciled, they're homeless, or they're disabled, so they're not able to cook themselves a hot meal or do a prepared meal. I don't know if a lot of you have heard about the hot chicken, and which basically means if a person on SNAP goes in and wants to buy the hot chicken, they can't do it. They have to wait till the next day when the hot chicken is put into the cold section, and then they could buy it. So any hot or prepared meal, a SNAP recipient can't buy. So the Restaurant Meals Program was established to help those SNAP recipients who can't get a hot or prepared meal to be able to do it by going into a restaurant and using their SNAP card to get a meal at a restaurant. The restaurant just has to apply to the state, and then they have to apply to the federal government after we approve them. And the only thing they really have to do is give a 10% discount to the SNAP user. And it's a great benefit for the restaurants because it's additional revenue that's coming in. And some restaurants are making thousands of more dollars per month being able to serve their SNAP clients through the Restaurant Meals Program. And a lot of restaurants already like to help the people in their community. So this makes them feel like they're even doing more. So it's a great program for restaurants to be able to apply for it. Not that hard of a program to get into, but a great program. Okay. The not-for-profit opportunity task force, basically, and we're not a formal task force, but basically, this is something that the governor's office put together. Lillian took the lead, brought us all together so we could do the presentations that we're doing to you today to share this information. And it's really valuable information, which is trying to take state government to your doorstep to let you know that we're here to help you. We're here for you. And we did a presentation yesterday, and I don't know about everybody else, but I got 3 or 4 emails right afterwards to make connections for them and help them with things that they needed. So we're obviously making a difference in the communities that we're presenting to, and it's a really great group, and a lot of great work. And thank you all for being here today, and thank you to my partners for presenting. Lillian had mentioned the Find Food Now. This came out of COVID, which ended up happening is, if a lot of you know, that the former governor had created a program where he put food pantries on college campuses. So when COVID happened and kids were sent home, there was a concern about how would college students know where the pantries were in their community. So the pantries in the Capital District already had a website that basically showed where all the pantries were in their region. They expanded it to include the entire state, working with state government, getting them the information. But not only do they have pantries for people, they have, if you have an animal and you can't afford to buy dog food, there are dog pantries, animal pantries where you can go get free food. This website is now going to be adding the congregate sites over the summer, the sites for congregate meals for seniors, and we keep adding and adding, and it's also intuitive. So if I live in a certain zip code, I go to this website, automatically the pantries in my area will come up. Also, for the not-for-profits to know, it is open sourced, which means if any of the not-for-profits want to put this map on their website, you just have to get in touch with us, and we're able to get you the link to put it on, so anybody that goes to your not-for-profit can also benefit from this map. So what are a couple of the programs that you could benefit that are already in place? So these are federal and state programs. So first we have SNAP, which is a federal program, and it's really important to understand that if your income makes you eligible for SNAP, you deserve and will get SNAP. Unfortunately, people that are low income are some of the most generous people in the world. And a lot of them will not take SNAP because they're thinking, well, there's somebody else who might need it and I don't want to take it away from them. That's not the case. If 10 people need it, 10 people get it. If 3,000 people need it, 3,000 people get it. It is by right. So if you are eligible for SNAP, you need to get it. Then there's the WIC program. Same thing. It's for women, infant, and children. If you're pregnant or if you have children 1 to 5 years old, this helps you get milk and helps you get healthy food for your children. If you're eligible, apply. The money's there. You need to take advantage of it. Then there's a commodity supplemental food program, which offers free and nutrition program to adults 60 years of age and older. So if you're a not-for-profit that runs a program for seniors and you want to be able to serve food, double check into the CSFP program and apply to be able to get the money. Same thing with the child and adult care food program. Again, same thing, snacks for seniors and children after school. Then there's the hunger prevention assistance program, which I just told you about. Then there's nutrition incentives. These are programs that double the incentive. So if you go and you buy, if you're on SNAP, and you go and buy fresh fruits and vegetables at farmers markets and at some supermarkets, and you have a Fresh Connect, a Double Up, or a Health Bucks coupon or token, if you spend $20 on fruits and vegetables, you can get $20 of free fruits and vegetables. So it doubles your ability to get healthy food. Then there's a 30% New York initiative, which basically is for school districts that if they buy 30% of their food from New York farmers, they'll get a larger rebate from the state and the federal government for basically using healthier food from New York farmers. Then there's the Nourish New York program, which basically was created during COVID when the restaurants and schools shut down. Where were the farmers going to sell their product to? So the state created Nourish New York, which gave millions and millions of dollars to the food banks and the pantries to be able to go directly to the farms in their region and buy their milk, their dairy, their meat, and their fruits and vegetables, and be able to then have it at their food pantries so people would be able to get fed and farmers would not go under. And so it was an incredible program started during COVID, and now it's legislative, it's in the legislation, and this year a really good amount of money was put into the Nourish New York program, which is again going to help our low-income people who go to food pantries be able to get healthy milk, meat, dairy, vegetables, an incredible program. Then there's the Medicaid waiver program. I'm not going to get into this too much. It's pretty complicated, but it was a program that was created by the federal government. It creates these social care networks. And these social care networks, we have lead social care networks in different part of the states. You can find out who your social care network is in your region. And if you can't, get in touch with me and I'll help you. And then you get in touch with them. And if you do nutrition, housing, transportation, or any kind of navigation that takes Medicaid eligible clients for needed services, you might be able to sign up and actually get paid for work you're already doing, or you might be able to hire somebody that can actually do the navigation when somebody comes to you not-for-profit, and you can help them get it connected to services that they need and get paid for it. A lot of money in the program. We've got to spend this money down. If you think it could help your organization, please find your social care network. I had somebody reach out to me yesterday who said they've been trying to do this for a while. They couldn't believe that we were presenting to them. They called me up. I got them to the person, and they're on their way right now of signing up. So if you're interested, please look into this and try to see if you can sign up. Okay, so I'm going to finish out by saying we started this with Chloe and Lil and Kristen telling you about grants, how you can get these grants. There is an overall portal, the New York State Vendor Portal, which you can go to and you can see the grants that are happening. But then if you want specifically an art grant, go to this link. If you want a criminal justice grant, go to this link. If you want to pay a Department of Labor, go to that link. Same thing for family services, mental health, Department of Health, OTDA. You can go directly. And the last thing I want to say, or the two last things I want to say is, if you're a small not-for-profit and you feel like this is all overwhelming in terms of applying for SFS, doing all of this work, you also, as a small not-for-profit, can go to a larger not-for-profit, like a United Way, like a Met Council, some kind of larger organization, and they can be the funder for you. They can be your fiscal policy person, and you can apply through them. They can do the grant for you, and then you work with them in terms of implementing the grant. So don't feel overwhelmed. There are ways for small not-for-profits to get help in New York State, and that's why we're doing these presentations, to let you all know what's available, who's here to help you. We have a great team. We all love each other very much. We love getting together to do these presentations. And so we want to thank you for being here. We want to thank you for working with us. And now I'm going to turn it over to Rosa Montalvo Pacheco, who is from the Office of New Americans. And she's the Community Immigrant Liaison for Long Island. And take it away, Rosa.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. I know that I am surrounded by amazing, very talented and beautiful representative of state agencies. So my name is Rosa Montalvo Pacheco, and as Susan mentioned, I'm the Immigrant Community Liaison for the Office for New Americans here in Long Island. I know that there's many local nonprofits here at this meeting, so I open the opportunity to connect. I'm also the New York State delegate for Learn the Signs at Early, which is a program that motivates families to learn milestones and early detection of disabilities. So basically we just want to bring you a whole lots of great news and information and services and programs that the state has available. And one of the things is, for those one that have never heard of ONA, which is the Office for New Americans, we were the first organization created by law with the goal of helping new Americans with accessing and navigating a variety of free services. And the way that we operate is through grants. We just closed one for Long Island, which is amazing. It's a project that we were putting together to have two social workers or case managers, one in Suffolk County, one in Nassau County, because we were noticing families having a little bit of a hard time navigating OPWDD, how to enroll kids, how to get diagnosis, and how to get the assistance that the kids and the families with disability needed. So that grant just closed. And as Susan mentioned, we noticed that many big organizations. An example is Hispanic Federation. Now Sepa Mujer is a sub-grantee. You gain the experience, you learn how the state processes, SFS, and everything that it was mentioned today. At the same time that you are, getting that valuable information. So once you're ready to apply, you're more than welcome to do so. So basically, on our program areas, we have citizenship and civic engagement, developmental disabilities. We have English language learning, immigration legal services, mental health support, and workforce development. So in citizenship and civic engagement, we have opportunity centers. Right now, we're doing a campaign of Know Your Rights. So coming up June 8th, there's going to be a Know Your Rights for small businesses. We have done Know Your Rights for nonprofits, Know Your Rights for schools. I know that there's different scenarios. So if anybody's interested in any of the Know Your Rights, and we always use our legal team. So there's going to be a representative there to be able to answer questions. The Immigrant Resource Program was created because when I first started in the position on Long Island, I encountered a huge list of nonprofits that maybe changed the name, maybe changed the location, maybe they're only covering Suffolk County or only covering Nassau County. So what they did is to keep up-to-date information of which nonprofits are fulfilling certain roles in the different counties. So when somebody's in need, they have that up-to-date information. Same for the North Country Immigrant Resource Program. Then we have the English language learning with the opportunity centers. These ones have hybrid English classes. So anybody can register. And I'm a good salesman, so many of these classes usually have a waiting list. So we created a mobile English, and this one is called Select. Anybody can access these classes, and it's anywhere from English as a second language, Spanish, how to open a business, know your rights. They have anybody that wants to learn early childhood development. These classes all have a certification at the end. They have tutors. They have different languages available. Anybody can learn, even if they don't have a smartphone or internet. I still have my parents that they don't want to give up on that flip phone. So you can still learn on your flip phone English and other different classes. Some people want to take the GED, so they take the math courses or math classes in Select. Again, it's an individualized. You can do as little as 3 minutes, and the certification are available at the end each of those sessions. We got the ONA programs. This is something I wanted to touch with. Any nonprofit is eligible to take our DOJ training, Department of Justice trainer certification. It's 40 hours. I took it myself. It's a very robust information on legal. Anybody that obtained that certification can actually fill up immigration paperwork and can also be with constituents going to court with them. We have the legal counsel, pro bono program, upstate immigration court program, Ukraine legal assistance program, New York legal response program, New York City rapid response legal collaborative, and Welcome in New York. This is to ensure that every immigrant, when they come here, they only have 1 year to apply for asylum. So we try to provide this information so they are able to fulfill that within that time period. We also have the mental health support, which is the Golden Door. These are culturally appropriate, bilingual groups, support groups. We have on Long Island, for example, we have one for females, we have one for the LGBTQ community, we have one for youth, and anybody, is eligible to really. I think that we all can benefit from a little bit of help in the mental health part. Then we have the Developmental Disability Services, Ramirez June Initiative for New Americans with Developmental Disabilities. With these, we provide a lot of presentations. We have material where individuals can track, families can track the milestones and learn what is the milestone for each of the developmental stages. So from 2 months to 5 months, we have a book that is bilingual. You can pick, it comes in 13 languages. It comes in the language that you request and English. And then we have the bilingual coordinator program, which I mentioned that the grant just closed. So we will be having somebody available in the different regions soon. Then we have the workforce development. New Americans Can Code. Anybody can access these classes where they can learn basic computer skills or more advanced, anything from maybe I already know computers and maybe I want to know programming, or maybe I like C++, which is a computer language. We also have the professional pathways for high-skilled immigrants. I came across a case where the constituent was a doctor in their country, and they were just very looking for a way to bring their career, to bring that information of how to pursue or how to continue their career. So anybody that was a carpenter, a plumber, a doctor, a lawyer in a different country can access these program. And what they do is they give them all the steps and they provide all the assistance to get the credits evaluated and bring the information here. And also those ones that are missing certificates, sometimes we have agreements with Department of Labor where they can do apprenticeship, and while they work, they get certification and other programs. So one of the requirements for this program is that the person have to have an immigration status that allows them to work. This is our New Americans Hotline. The best way to connect with us is a toll-free. Now is extended. It's available also on weekends. So this one operates from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Friday, and weekends 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Anybody can call regardless of their immigration status. All calls are anonymous and confidential, and we have 200 plus languages available in this hotline. This is one of the flyers that we have been providing. So on the first part, anybody can scan the QR code, and then that would lead us to our website where it has all the Know Your Right information. And the bottom part is to share information regarding federal government actions. This is with the Attorney General office in New York. This is another way that anybody can connect. If you have cases that might require, a rapid response, you can email us at newamericans@dos.ny.gov. And we also have our website where you can register to our newsletter and get information about grants and workshops, webinars, which we do often within the Department of State. We also have consumer protections and other agencies that might be of benefit to share with you as a nonprofit. We also have a Facebook account where we post many of our events, an X account, and a Instagram account. And now I believe it's time for some questions. So I will open the floor. And thank you so much again for your time and assistance. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for all the information that you just gave us. It's a wealth of information for nonprofits. The grant information to me was so helpful because I am our grant writer, and it's sometimes dealing with the SFS is not easy. So I appreciate all the resources that were given. In addition, all of the different departments that gave resources out for all of our nonprofits to help their individuals and participants and people in our communities. No one should go without. And I think that you guys all showed that there are ways of getting resources and helping nonprofits help our communities. I believe that all the questions were answered. I know that Chloe had to go. I need some information from her. I'll reach out for all of our nonprofits who were on the webinar. We thank you for your time. We know it was a long one and a lot of information. So we will be sending everything out with all the links. There is some information in the chat. Please make sure, again, if you're not a member of the Nonprofit Resource Hub, please just go on and apply or just register because that helps us bring more information to everyone, as well as doing the needs assessment. So we bring you the correct information that you need. We really appreciate, people look at sometimes the government of being your adversaries. You guys really just showed us that you are our partners, and that we should work together. And I appreciate everybody's time. And we will see you next time. If you have any questions, please email us at the Nonprofit Resource Hub. You can email me at a.fleischer@Nonprofit Resource Hub. But you know how to reach us. And please let me know if you have any questions. And thanks everyone for joining us.
Amy, I have a
Thanks,
quick
all.
question. I have a quick question. Is Nonprofit Resource Hub just for the Nassau and Suffolk counties in Long Island, or do you go?
No, we are tri-state, but we have people from all over the world.
good.
It's about helping the sector. Obviously, a lot of our things happen on Long Island or in-person things. We have a lot of virtual events that anyone could attend as well.
Great.
Okay, because I've been in touch with a few really small nonprofits. I mean, they've been around for just a couple of years, and a couple of them are up in Buffalo, and I think it would be beneficial for them to think about joining your group.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, listen, like we said, we have programming for small and large and everything in between. Yeah, we'll work with
Okay.
everybody.
Okay, maybe I'll make an
That'd
e-introduction.
be wonderful. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you, Amy.
Any other questions before we let our panel go? And I appreciate everyone for the long early morning participation.
Thank you for having us,
All right.
everybody.
Thanks, all.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.